Sean Callahan here with HuskerOnline.com. I'm at Houston Christian as Nebraska just wrapped up its second day of satellite camps here in Houston, and there's always news. That's why we're here at HuskerOnline.com, and probably the biggest news of these 2 days by far was the addition of German offensive lineman David Hofkin, as the O is emphasized there on that last name. But David was offered by Nebraska, committed to the Huskers here in Houston, worked out the last 2 days, goes 6'7", 257 pounds, has got a 9'4" standing broad jump, a 30-plus inch vertical, so a very long, athletic guy with not an ounce of bad fat. He'll join the program here in the coming months ahead as an immediate add to the 2024 season. Another storyline here that emerged, we learned of a new coaching staff addition to the Nebraska staff. Ira Savage Davis, who played for Matt Rule in Baylor, was once a single-digit jersey holder, officially met up with Tony White for the first time here in Houston on Monday night, is now on the Nebraska staff, or plans to be in a assistant or graduate assistant type role where he'll work extensively with Terrence Knighton. He actually worked at Shadow Creek High School, the home of Braylon Prude, who Nebraska found at this very same satellite camp a year ago in Houston. And then we did see two other offers come out of this camp. First, James Scott, a 6'5", 205-pound athlete that could play receiver, tight end, edge. He came out of Oak Ridge High School in Conroe, Texas, here in Houston. And we saw a 2027 defensive line offer as well. Amari Vickerson at a Cypress Ranch. His father played in the NFL, has direct ties to Terrence Knighton. So a logical offer here for Nebraska in the class of 2027. And now let's welcome in Steve Sipple of HuskerOnline.com, who's been with me here in Texas over the last couple of days. Got to get to the main news. David Hofkin out of Germany, and that's why we come to these things. There's always going to be storylines that emerge, and the addition of Hofkin to the 2024 roster, no doubt the biggest thing that we learned here in Texas.
Well, it's a really intriguing story, first of all, and I mean the thing that really jumps out at you is size, 6'7", 257, but it's also potential. If you look at his frame, it's easy to imagine 50 more pounds because of his, just the way he's built. His leg, his knees are gigantic. His feet, he has size 18 feet. It's very intriguing. This is not, I would characterize this as a big get. Sean, you're always looking for big men. You don't see many 6'7", 260-pound guys walking around with his sort of athleticism, and then with the potential to add so much weight.
In the 20-plus years, though, that I've been doing this is probably one of the more unique roster adds I think Nebraska has brought in. Number one, a player from an international country, but he's been out of the game for 2 years. It's not like he's been playing, so that is very unique how this story played out. He also didn't play high school football in the United States, so your international players are going to play at least a year. Like Nuri Nwili played at Norris High School for 1 year before he went to Colorado State, then to Nebraska. So his story to get to Nebraska and being out of football, that was fascinating.
It's fascinating. I wouldn't be scared away by it if I was a fan because of what we saw. We had the benefit of watching him in drills. He does have tremendous bend. His size is just impressive. It's hard. We got him on camera and people can kind of see it, but I'm not concerned by the fact he was out of the game for 2 years. I'm just not. He played high-level club football in Germany. He knows what he's doing. If you wanted to use him as a defensive lineman, you could. He has great bend, great athleticism. They came down here and got one. It's really interesting.
And his body, we know the roster in Nebraska. You look at the tackles. He's every bit as athletic and physically put together as any young tackle in the program right now.
He's 22 years old. That's the thing to emphasize. This is not a kid. He's 22, but he can play 4 years in the program. He can play up to age 27, basically, if he wants to.
And it looks like Hofkin, but it's Hofkin.
Hofkin.
You got to get the Hofkin on that.
Hofkin.
But then, Sip, you uncovered another nugget. Nebraska's added another member to their coaching staff, or at least it's in the works.
Yeah.
And that kind of played out here in Houston.
Well, it was pretty obvious. It didn't take great detective work. Ira Savage Lewis. Ira Savage Lewis. He was standing with the staff virtually the whole time. He was like a member of the staff. And it looks like he will join the staff as a GA, helping Terrence Knighton with the D lineman. He played for Matt Rule, as you mentioned, for 4 years. He actually was with Rule for 2 years. He was a 3-year starter at Baylor.
Single-digit number wearer, though.
Single-digit number wearer for Coach Rule for 2 years at Baylor, 2-year starter under Coach Rule. I mean, he's ready. He's been coaching in suburban Houston. He wants to be a college coach, though. It looks like he's going to get his first opportunity at Nebraska.
And this new rule, it's not official. I feel like we've been saying this for months, but
right.
Guys like that are going to really benefit from this.
This new rule, you're talking about expanded staffs where GAs can now work on the field with players. He's joining the staff at a great time. This is a guy that's very close to Matt Rule. He says that Matt Rule's kind of helped him become the man he is. So it's very natural, and I expect it to become official fairly soon.
Well, and then yesterday we talked to UTEP and Scotty Walden, Nebraska's first opponent. Well, Houston Christian's also on the schedule.
Really interesting.
And they'll play week 3 in 2025 against Nebraska. And there was some conversation like, are we going to allow Nebraska to, and both parties like, oh yeah, you can come back here next year.
The conversation, Jason Bachtel is their head coach, is Houston Christian's head coach, first-year head coach. And there was some conversation about that. Like, Nebraska coaches approached him and said, hey, is it okay us coming back knowing that we're going to be playing you in 2025? And he said, yeah, you're not in the same conference. You're not in our division or anything like that. So, no, it's
and the money is pretty important for their program. Anyway, I mean, like those games playing in Nebraska, a school like Houston Christian, they need that type of money.
It's about $500,000 is what we're talking about. So it's a good deal for them. It's a great deal. It's really interesting because if you're on this campus, you'll see it's a world away from Nebraska in terms of facilities and all that. They'll have some talent though. 2025, those schools will link up. But here's the thing, Sean. Nebraska's going to keep coming back here. They want to be consistent at these camps.
These two.
Yeah, Belton and Houston. And they're kind of getting their foothold in here, and it's pretty impressive to watch unfold.
And what they like about Belton, where we're at Monday, is it's kind of hard to get there. I mean, you got to fly to Dallas and drive about 2 hours.
Right.
You got to fly to Austin and drive an hour and a half. So, I mean, I think the location of Belton, they like that because you might uncover players like David Hofkin and some of the things that they were able to see at an event like this.
That's kind of what happened. And what you saw in Belton was the talent escalate dramatically compared to last year. It was really startling to me. We were in Belton last year, and we were like, there's just not that much here. This year, there was more there. Partly because of Gridiron Imports, which brought a lot of their players with them, and there's some pretty good players with them.
Right now, by the way, Buc-ee's gas station. We've made 3 Buc-ee's stops in Texas. If you're wondering,
it is an unbelievable experience. Now, people do have Buc-ee blinders on that you and Greg have talked about, that they're so excited to be there. They're liable
to run into you.
They'll just kind of run into you. But it is a startling thing for us, and it's beautiful.
So signing these trips, by the way, people are like, why do you go? We get a lot. We got stories galore.
Well, this was one of the most unique stories I've seen in recruiting. This offer to David.
A 22-year-old David Hofkin.
Hofkin.
Signing it off here from Houston, Texas, here at Houston Christian University with videographer Greg Peterson, Steve Sipple. I'm Sean Callahan for HuskerOnline.com.